Shabadadu, I got it. So, with this episode of Yuri Kuma, I had to rewatch it 2 times because I was making sure I grasped everything from this episode of Yuri Kuma, because I have been told that there is some very interesting symbolism going on with, Yuri Kuma. And I actually, last week, after I finished episode 2 of Yuri Kuma, I went searching on the interwebs and tried to find out if I have missed anything with the first 2 episodes of Yuri Kuma. Little did I know that people that are actually really well aware of this, writer's work, they have noticed quite a few things about this series that really fucking shocked me. I was like, whoa. Here is the main thing I see why so many are getting confused with this series, and why myself was so confused with this series. Now, like I said before, I have never seen this writer-director's actual previous works. I've seen some of Penguin Drum, but I dropped it because it just wasn't for me at that time when I first watched it. But one day I will definitely go back to watch it after finding out the real meaning behind Yuri Kuma. So, with this episode, it pretty much clarifies all the theories and discussions I saw for episode 1 and 2, and with this episode, it pretty much clarifies what I thought after stalging through different theories, symbolisms, and stuff like that, going back and watching episode 1 and 2 again just to see if I missed anything, and I found out that this series is deep. So, here's the thing. The main issue when it comes to this series for new watchers, especially myself, that gets confused, is that I was looking at this series at a literal sense. For instance, I was looking at the title. The title says Yuri Kuma, Yuri Bears, lesbian bears. And pretty much it has bears, and it has lesbians. And I'm like, oh shit. So, pretty much the title is literal. It is. But the main issue a lot of people have with the series, like I said, myself included, was I was looking at this series at a literal standpoint, not a metaphorical standpoint. This series is just straight up metaphorical. It's not really, like, literal. Let me dive in and explain. Now, these are a bunch of symbolism and theories that other people have made. I don't take, credit for all this information. I've only, seen episode 3 and started forming my own theories after the information I got from episode 1 and 2. So, some of the stuff I'm going to cover, I did not come to the conclusion myself. But anyways, so, from what I found out was that Yuri Kuma is actually based on a society that is, like, hiding their inner true selves. Like, the entire point of this series is pretty much women getting preyed upon because of their sexual preference. Yes, we're getting into that controversial topic. I am not joking with you. This series is dabbling in controversial topics. And if you don't like controversial topics, like sexuality and stuff like that, you most likely are going to hate this series. If you do not like the topic of sexuality and stuff like that with the controversial topics about it, like I said, this series, it's going to be on your hate list. But if you can sit back and enjoy it for the true meaning of this series, you can actually enjoy this piece of work. So, here's the thing. The series actually talks about how a bunch of these girls are pretty much lesbians. Like, majority of the entire humans in this wall of severance or whatever, are pretty much lesbians. That's what they are. And we find out about the invisible storm in the latest episode. And in the latest episode, at first, I didn't understand the invisible storm. And then I watched it a second time, and I'm like, oh, that's what the invisible storm meant. So, the invisible storm pretty much means that, let's say I'm different, okay? Let's just say I'm loud and obnoxious and I have a different sexual preference or something like that. I stand out from the crowd. And so, the society will push you away, and you have peer pressure to where you have to pretty much kind of fit in. It's like peer pressure. Pretty much fit in with your society, or you will be bullied and pushed aside and looked at like you're a freak. That's pretty much what the invisible storm is. For instance, the invisible storm represents the community that is all the same. Like, for instance, everybody has social norms. Our society has social norms. Every country has their social norms. And the invisible storm actually represents this. Like, if you go invisible, get inside the invisible storm, you'll pretty much integrate into that society, and you really won't stand out in these group of people. That's pretty much what it means. And technically, our main female character, she is standing out because she actually declares her love for her friend that died. Now, here's the thing. I'll dive into that in just a moment about her friend, but she declared her love pretty much openly. And this open declaration of love is way different from the social norms that really go on in society. And that is technically why she got pushed out. That's exactly why her friend got pushed out, because she was also different and declared her love for her friend. So, we found out that if you try to actually announce your love and be different with your sexuality, like, you know, want Yuri lesbian love, you will be pushed out of society and you pretty much might be preyed upon. Now, here is where we get into the deep factor with this. So, a bunch of Chibits pointed this out, and I did not realize the connection until I saw it last week browsing through comments. Pretty much, from what we know so far, every bear, every person that we've seen that's been revealed as a bear has Yuri in their name. They have Yuri in their name some form or fashion. And this instantly makes me realize, wait a minute. There's a bunch of characters in the school that also have Yuri in their name, but they're not revealed to be bears. And then in this episode, the teacher or whatever that technically, you know, has a connection with our main female's character's actual mother, she also has Yuri in her name. And supposedly, the mother disappeared. And you could tell that technically they used to love each other. So what this technically means is that she is a bear and she ate her mother, the main female character's mother. So, holy shit. So all of the people that have Yuri in their name are pretty much bears. Now, here, let's go a little bit deeper and think about this, okay? What does the actual metaphorical standpoint of this series really mean? Now, like I said, majority of people look at this at a literal sense, but there is a lot more going on. There is the bears and the humans, and then the wall of severance. Now, I find it very interesting after thinking about, you know, the controversial topic of the sexual preference of lesbian love. You gotta think about this. Who are the only guys in this series? Like, let's think about this. Who are the only guys that has appeared in Yuri Kuma? The people that do shabadadu or sexy, you know, stuff like that. Those people are the only guys in the series, and guess what they're doing? They're judging women. Very interesting if you think about it in that type of perspective. So these guys are the only men in the series, and they literally are like standing on as judges, and they're giving trial to women. And that right there, once again, goes back to the social norms of society. And I'm like, oh shit. So when you find that stuff out, it really blows your mind away with how this series is really trying to dive into this controversial topic. And I'm like, fuck. So moving past that, besides the guys technically judging women, you have the other standpoint of what the bears really mean. The bears represent actual lesbians that have came pretty much out of the closet, and they're not wanting to hide their self. They don't want to hide their true self at all. And they're pretty much like the people that are really expressing their true selves. And the representation of them eating people is actually not them eating people, but actually having sex. So yeah, and it also is demonstrated in the trial scene when you see our main female character getting licked, or the Lily getting licked. Yeah, it just right there. I'm like, oh my god. So there's just so much meaning behind it. I did not realize it. And then there's another thing which I don't take no credit for at all. A bunch of Chibits pointed out last week, and I saw a bunch of threads I was scrolling through for episode 1 and 2, there appears to be another faction to this series, a raven or bird type faction. Like, I noticed it right at the beginning of this episode, and I was like, oh shit, after reading those threads like last week, and I see this, I'm like, oh. So, if you look closely at the beginning of episode 3, look right at the beginning of episode 3, you will see a bunch of shadows with ravens or crows all on the background. It's shaded in. You can miss it, or you can just look past it and not really think about it much. But there seems to be a third faction in this series. For instance, we have the bears, we have the humans, and then we have these raven type people. And so, who are these raven type people? Like, what type of social status do these people have? Like, what side are they on? And so, to find this stuff out about the series, now I'm starting to grasp what the series' true meaning is. It's about girls trying to declare their love and not be put down by society's social norms. That's pretty much what this series is. So, finding that out, wow. That's all I want to do. So, amazing. Amazing episode. Just straight up amazing episode. Finding out about the social norms and the true depth of this series with episode 3 with the invisible storm and stuff like that. Pretty much confirms it. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.